The World Health Organization has proposed new names for coronavirus variants using letters from the Greek alphabet. WHO's naming scheme will be used to label noteworthy strains of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, such as Delta, for the variant first detected in India, also known as B1.617.2. Naming variants after a geographical location, such as a country, is misleading because a variant that was initially identified in a particular place didn't necessarily emerge from there, but people can still be blamed for the spread of a COVID variant. So what are the alternatives to geographic names? Different groups of researchers use various systems of naming, nomenclature, to label distinct strains of SARS-CoV-2. Some variants are named for their genetic mutations, for instance, whereas Pango uses gene sequences to build an evolutionary tree with branches or lineages like B1.1.7. In an article for the journal Science, researchers concluded that scientific and media reports should not refer to variants by country names but admitted that mutation-based or lineage names are difficult to say and write. Some scientists have suggested alternative names that would be relatively easy for people to pronounce and remember. Professor Mark Pallen, an expert in microbial genomics at the Quadram Institute and University of East Anglia, proposed using a pre-generated list of proper nouns. In an opinion piece for New Scientist, Pallen suggested an approach similar to how storms are given names like Hurricane Katrina, or drawing inspiration from classical mythology with names such as Apollo or Artemis. Pallen was part of WHO's discussions to find better names for COVID variants, which was coordinated by Frank Konings, who leads WHO's Virus Evolution Working Group. Those online meetings included dozens of scientists, health professionals and experts in nomenclature and taxonomy, the practice of grouping and labeling organisms. WHO's discussions involved representatives from three groups, GISAID, NextStrain and Pango, that are involved in tracking the evolution and spread of viruses behind epidemics and pandemics, each of which has its own naming scheme. According to Pallen, WHO wanted to reassure the three groups that the organization's naming scheme wouldn't replace theirs, which use precise terminology to describe a variant's properties. Some researchers suggested turning a variant's key property, such as a mutation, into words, but the idea was too complicated. One of the points I made is that these names can just be arbitrary, says Pallen. They don't have to say anything about the properties of the strain. The end result of WHO's meetings was a naming scheme that used Greek letters, which will be described in a forthcoming article published in the journal Nature Microbiology.